I was a fool, man. This is embarrassing, but hey, I gotta tell you. I wasn't just on this earth.
When I was 4 years old, I became possessed. Created a world inside my head without rest. How dumb could I be? Constantly stuck in this fantasy. For years a fool and retarded. Real life I couldn't handle. I was 4 years old, became possessed. Created a world inside my head without rest. How dumb could I be? Constantly stuck in this fantasy. For years a fool and retarded. Real life I couldn't handle. It all started when I fell in love with Destiny Child. One day listening to them and seeing that album cover made me go wild. From there on, it was downhill. Stupid was the status of my life bill. Doing things in my head that's over the hill. Only problem is it's not real. Spending days jumping and running all through the house, looking foolish. My mama called it a ritual and said, "Boy, you look stupid." From celebrity vengeance, superhero vengeance. Watch out, my house, my ritual is a menace. I run into you, I'm guilty and grinning. All in my mind I thought I was invincible. Then I got into sports, it's NASCAR, fantasy, horsepower. Then dreaming of playing ball with my classmates for several hours. 2013 came, I tried to make it more real life. Adventures in ATL, turn it to summer, it feels more bright. Playing ball in crash stores, rapping and talking to girls galore. In the streets, all those niggas in war, talking about random stuff just because I was bored. Storyline so deep, it's too much to explain. Was gonna write an album on it, the power was insane. Just know that my peers were involved. City to city, being silly while on TV, music celebrities watch. It's crazy. So stupid, so hard to explain it. Many times I thought I had killed it. If you heard me rap in my fantasy world, you would've thought, like, Blaze, you overkill. That was hard. Possessed at the same time. Addicted like I'm a fiend doing line. Constantly wasting my time. When I was 4 years old, I became possessed. Created a world inside my head without rest. How dumb could I be? Constantly stuck in this fantasy. For years a fool and retarded. Real life I couldn't handle. I was 4 years old, became possessed. Created a world inside my head without rest. How dumb could I be? Constantly stuck in this fantasy. For years a fool and retarded. Real life I couldn't handle. It's probably the most embarrassing and foolish investment, but I had to take, cause telling the truth was how I beat depression. Blinded to using time wisely in the real life flow. By the time I was 16, late 2015, I said, I gotta let this go. You would've never knew, but I did it in elementary school. Looked like a fool and adjusting the only real life, I had no clue. The worlds I was in, too, made every girl my boo. I did whatever I wanted. Only fault was, it wasn't true. I said the realest stuff in my fantasy world. I fought the craziest villains in my fantasy world. I spit the hardest raps in my fantasy world. Boy, I had the best game with these fantasy girls.
Come here, girl.
My peers all gave me respect in my fantasy world. I went to major cities in my fantasy world. I battled out street war in my fantasy world. Nigga, I was the drug plug in my fantasy world. I was around celebrities in my fantasy world. I took my real world and put twist in my fantasy world. I wasted 11 years of my life in my fantasy world. You wouldn't be able to bear my crazy fantasy world. Hey, my fantasy world is one of the reasons I was behind. My fantasy world is probably one of the reasons I became traumatized. Had me blind, but I was having fun at the same time. When I was 4 years old, I became possessed. Created a world inside my head without rest. How dumb could I be? Constantly stuck in this fantasy. For years a fool and retarded. Real life I couldn't handle. I was 4 years old, became possessed. Created a world inside my head without rest. How dumb could I be? Constantly stuck in this fantasy. For years a fool and retarded. Real life I couldn't handle.
One time I killed it, but it came back hard again. I made up so many adventures, you could say I was a backyard again. This stuff is real. For 11 years, I wasted time being in two different worlds. This goes out to all the people that have dealt with this, and to let people know never, ever lose sight of reality. Don't never live a fantasy, Cause I did it and it's not worth it.